I'm gonna put you on the spot because I've told so many people this story. You may have caught the lake record at Amistad, and I'm not gonna even fresh I am not gonna sit there and ruin the story by telling it to these viewers right here, but you caught the biggest bass you've ever seen, and I'm gonna leave it at that and let you go. So tell me that story. Tell us, Fishtales audience, that story.
Well, it was a story that was never supposed to get out to start with.
Well, the fishing's no one's coming there now.
We were actually filming down on Falcon. My son and I was filming one of our shows, and then I was filming another show called Striking Pro Team Journal. And in the one show, we had a 12 and 11 and a half, and the other one we had a 12 and a quarter that my son caught. So I'd been around some pretty good fish, and I drove home from that filming, and we had, I think it was called an Everstart tournament going to be here
Right.
on back then.
Yep.
That's what they called them anyway. And I had like a week and a half before it was going to start, and there was no off limits. And so I'm out on the lake on Amistad fishing, and I'm fishing this hydrilla flat. And there's a little hump in the middle of the hydrilla where it came up to about 20 feet. And I'd caught a 5-pounder there like a week before I'd left to go film and never made another cast. And the wind's blowing like 30. And I'm blowing across that flat. And I thought, I ought to maybe make one cast over there to see if that was just a fluke. And so I'm throwing a 3/4 ounce striking football jig, and I throw it over there, and it gets about 3/4 of the way down. The line just jumps. And I thought, this is probably stupid, but I'm going to set the hook. And I did. And I thought, well, this is about an 8-pound fish. And I knew it was a decent fish, but it finally come up and they couldn't jump. All they could do is do the old head shake. And I go, this is bigger than those 12-pounders we just caught. And I got kind of serious in a hurry over that. And of course, there's nothing for the fish to get in other than to get back into the hydrilla. And I put him around. I'm blowing. We probably end up 75 yards by the time I got him in the boat from where I hooked him. But he'd come up 3 times. The third time I finally got him and got him in the boat. And I'm going, this didn't even look real. It looked like California bass that you see pictures of. They're as deep as they are long. And I unhooked him. I put him in the live well, got the live wells going, and I sat down, and I immediately had a migraine headache. So I took a couple of Advil. I mean, I am jacked. I mean, I am totally wrecked at this point. And I'm going, I don't know what this thing weighs. And I go, I got to find out. So I called the guy that built my house. Well, he doesn't answer his phone. And so I wait a little bit, and I call him again. He still don't answer his phone. And I go, damn, I need to weigh him. So I got one of them column right scales in the boat, and I get it out, and all it'll do is blink when I hang him on that. I get to look at it. Well, it only went to 15 pounds. And I go,
Oh,
doesn't weigh 15 pounds. So I got a buddy of mine from Strike King had given me one of them registered boga grips. And so I dig it out and I hang him on that. Well, he bottomed out the 15 pounds on it. And I go, well, he's over 15 pounds. But now I don't know how much over 15 pounds. And I put him back in the live well, and I tried calling the builder again. And I get thinking, if I drag him around town, trying to get this fish weighed, I'm going to kill him. And it became a really weird deal. The fish didn't have a blemish on him. It just became between me and the fish. It didn't have anything to do with records or anything else. And then the greed kind of started to creep in a little bit. And I got to thinking, that tournament's a week away. If I take him back over to that hump and let him go and catch him during that tournament, that fish is going to be really famous. And
oh.
I eased back over to that hump and watched him swim back down there, and probably had a terrible tournament because I spent too much time fishing that. But I never saw it again. So, and now that hump is high and dry.
And so you're alone. You're alone in the boat. This is like the old man in the sea. When you told me this story, we were at my hotel, the Amistad Lake Resort, and you quietly told me that. At the time, I didn't share it with anybody because I knew at that time that, people were still showing up and we're trying to keep the bite quiet. And you don't want people knowing that Denny Brauer caught a 15, 16, 17 pounder out there because then every Lunker chaser will come out. But I remember thinking you were out there by yourself looking at that fish and you had to make that decision to let that fish go in, like you said, maybe in hopes of catching it during the actual competition, which is really cool.
Yeah, I wasn't even smart enough to take a picture of the thing, which is probably good. But later on that day, my builder calls me and he goes, "What do you need?" And I got, "Oh, nothing." And he goes, "What'd you catch?" But well, you're not gonna believe it anyway, so I'm just gonna tell you, but don't tell anybody else. And so I told him that I caught one that bottomed the scale out on 2 15-pound scales. And sure enough, it didn't take him long. He was probably on the phone calling everybody he knew, and the word got out in a hurry. But it was a moment I'll never ever forget. Put it that way.
You know what's cool about that, Denny, and I have the same experience with the biggest smallmouth of my life, is that your biggest bass of your life that you actually caught, you have no idea what it weighed, and I'm the same way with my smallmouth at the Columbia River. It was giant. I just said 2 foot long by 2 foot wide. That's all I could explain, and it was during practice for the Bassmaster event, when they were out west on the Columbia River in Washington, and I catch this giant smallmouth. It looked like it had the barnacle spots on it. It has the old liver spots that the old big smallmouth do. And you knew it was just this 7, maybe 8, maybe 9, bigger than 6, 4, 5, 6 pound smallmouth. I've caught them, but this was bigger than anything I'd ever seen in the world of smallmouth. And then when I get back to the ramp, I'm telling Skeet and those guys about it's during practice. So I let it go, hoping I'd catch it again, just like you. And I tell Skeet and the guys, and they're like, "Did you catch it on the Oregon side or the Washington side?" I go, "Well, I caught it on the Oregon side." They go, "That was the state record." Because the state record's only 6 pounds or something. And I'm like, "Oh no, this was like 7 or 8 pounds on the Columbia River." And they're like, "You just caught and let go of the state record." So of course, Bassmaster heard about it and they had me do a story on it after the tournament. But it's cool that we both have record bass that we have no idea what they weighed.
I've never caught anything close to that particular fish. I think I've had 3 13s over the years. One of them came on Falcon, and one of them came on a private lake. But I've had I don't know how many 12-pound, 12-ounce bass here on this lake, but I can't catch a 13 here on this lake. But I had that one.
Wow.